Good morning, Greenwich Country Day School seminar. I just wanted to do a quick check-in with everybody just to see how everybody is doing. On my end, I'm hearing all kinds of things from people who are having a really, really tough time with this to people that are not having a tough time at all. And that range of differences is expected and it's normal. But I just wanted to check in with all of you and see how all of you were doing. We know that this is not normal. It's just not, and there are so many changes that have come with this, from obviously being at home for schoolwork, to being stuck at home, to not being able to socialize, to having our routines completely upended, to loss for so many people. And loss doesn't have to mean physical loss. It can mean loss of socializing, or loss of time with friends, or loss of an athletic team, or all kinds of loss. And so we know that this, with everything that's going on, this social distancing, it's not normal. And when everything is different, what do you think that does to all of our heads? Well, we know that it makes our thoughts start to spin. It makes our emotions change. It can make our behaviors change. And so that's one of the reasons that I really just wanted to check in with you, is I am aware that for many teens, this throws you off in a very, very big way. And one of the things that it causes is significant stress, which you've heard me all talk before. You all know that teens are more stressed than any other population. So this clearly doesn't help. So what I wanted to talk for a second about with all of you was, what is too much stress? And when we're looking at this, we've got this performance piece here where if we've got too little, maybe we're inactive, we're laid back, it's not really getting us to do too much. Optimum stress is up here, but it hasn't reached this point where it's exhausting us. And when it gets to be too much, we have exhaustion, we get overloaded, we get overwhelmed. And then when we get into this range, we get shut down. And so what I want you all to pay attention to is this area. If you're here and you're bored and you're not doing anything, that can be a problem too, especially with getting homework done. But this is our optimal range. And then these are the two ranges that if you're starting to experience these, please let us know. That would be really, really important. Okay. So, what starts to happen is that this is really a slide that's meant for a parent, but I'm hoping it will help all of you too, is that what parents start to see, or the behaviors that you start to engage in, are this iceberg above the water, and you get excessive screen time, which you already know how I feel about that. All kinds of different changes in behavior, but what's going on underneath is really, really important. And I want you all to dial in and connect with what you're seeing here underneath the surface, which can be boredom or helplessness or loss or fear or feeling powerlessness. These are all important pieces that I want you to be able to pay attention. So what do we do? What do we do during this time? The first thing that we have to do is we have to accept that there is a new normal. Right? There is just a new normal, and it's going to be this way for a while. And while that's hard to hear, it's just what is happening. And during this new normal, we really have to be aware, or we just have to notice the things I was just talking about, which are there any changes in your behaviors? Are there any changes in emotions? Are there any changes in interactions? Are there any changes in your thinking? If you are starting to notice those changes, you have to start asking yourself some more important questions about A, why is this happening? And B, what do I need to do? Okay. So with this new normal, I was listening to a Tiger Talk the other day, and I heard this poet say something along the lines of, change is inevitable and growth is optional. And I thought, what a wonderful line. I am totally stealing that. Thank you, David. What a great line. Change is inevitable. Growth is optional. So for our growth during this time of a new normal, we have to be thinking about our environment, number one. Do we have a good schedule? What does our room look like? What does our workplace look like? How are we focused on those, and how are we shaping those so that we are the most functionable in those? We have to be mindful of our physical health, eating, sleeping, exercising, the ability to calm our central nervous system. Super, super, super important. I know all of you are engaging in mindfulness activities, and again, do more of those. Those are super, super helpful. But reducing our stress from a physical standpoint, what it also does is it actually empowers our immune system. It supports our metabolism. Things like how the skin cleans itself. All of these things improve when we reduce stress. If we stay at a higher level of stress, we are more likely to get sick. Our metabolism shuts down. We're more likely to gain weight. Our skin is more likely to break out. So our physical health and paying attention to that, super important. Let me move my face here. So we have to be mindful of our thinking, and this one's super important, right? So while I want you to acknowledge that this sucks, that nobody likes this, I shouldn't say that nobody likes it. Some people are really enjoying this. But for those of you that it really is different and it's a new normal, acknowledge that. Acknowledge that anxiety and stress are normal at this time. Acknowledge that this will come to an end. And so the mindset that you have becomes super important. And I've heard people saying to me that I've talked to that this is like Groundhog Day. This doesn't seem real. What's going on? And their mindset can really start to become negative, and people start to tell them things like, I just can't. I would like you to switch that and find ways to tell yourself that you can. I can do this. I can do this. And finding the silver lining in all of this. And remember, and look at this quote, be careful how you're talking to yourself because you're listening. This is super important. And be mindful of our behaviors. Small wins matter. A tiny bit better each day. If you can have those two thoughts, small wins matter, and I need to do a little bit better each day. I'm going to make today a little bit better than yesterday. I spent 3 minutes on this yesterday. I'm going to spend 3 minutes and 30 seconds on this today. Small wins matter. Okay. I want you to choose to engage in positive behaviors. I know a lot of you may want to curl up in bed and pull the covers over you and do nothing. That doesn't help. Avoidance of these situations only makes it worse, right? Because then problems build. So this is where those small wins matter. Get out from the covers. Go engage in a positive behavior. Setting up short and long-term goals. Interacting with your family in a different way. Managing your own screen time. You all know how to do that, and I highly recommend that. And then, as I said before, below the iceberg, below the water, recognizing those emotional signs. What do we need to look for? And then ask yourself, what would you say to a friend? And then ask yourself why you wouldn't do the same thing for yourself that you know you would say for a friend. I'd really like you all to take a second and think about that one. And so I challenge you. Where do we want to be? Do we want to be in the fear zone? Do we want to be in the learning zone? Or do we want to be in this growth zone? And remember, change is inevitable. Growth is optional. And growth is making good choices. It's being aware and conscious of those decisions and those opportunities and taking them. Okay. Finally, if you're really struggling, what do we need to do? Okay. So reach out to GCDS staff, reach out to your parents, reach out to your friends, reach out to trusted adults. If any of you are struggling with anything, you know that you can reach me, set up a Zoom call. You can set up Zoom calls with your advisors. You can set up Zoom calls with your teachers. I'm encouraging all of you to engage in optional growth. And David also said there are things we can and there are things we cannot control. So let's choose to control the things that we can. If any of you need anything, just let me know. Bye, GCDS.